So we talked about cameras earlier. I'm going to show you hopefully a video in 2 seconds here that will work. You know, I'm a big fan of battery-operated cameras, but I use the Nest camera on the entryway of my house. I'm going to show you Barry's system that we installed in his house because it monitors 24/7. You pay the price, you have to pay for the cloud, but it monitors 24/7, where Blink only captures a snapshot of something that happens in an environment. Just finished installing a Nest camera for Barry's back door so that he can look out in his backyard and around his deck. We wound up having to install 2 lock boxes. One for the USB cable and one for the electrical. This camera allowed us to do some of that. Are we good? Are we good? I'm going to just say we're good. Okay. All right. Oh, man. So now I'm going to play a couple more videos, so I'm going to have to turn my microphone off again. But let's talk about them before I do that. So somebody mentioned that on their home they would put doorbells with cameras. So I want you to think about this a second. You want to know that somebody's coming up to your house, and you want a camera to notify you that someone's coming up to your house, right? You want that, somebody said earlier, I want notifications that somebody's coming up to my house. So these cameras, they have built-in cameras and a doorbell. These cameras will do that. There's a couple of downsides to them. Anyway, let's watch the promotional video and see if you can get the takeaways.
A lot happens at your front door. With a Ring Video Doorbell, you'll never miss a visitor.
Hi, Shelly. You home?
You know what? I'm at the store. I'll be there in like 10 minutes.
But I do that with my parents. They live in California, I live in Missouri. I share accounts with them, and I can just log into their stuff remotely. One, to fix their stuff, or two, to see what they're saying.
One thing of teens, caregivers,
Yeah.
babysitters,
Yeah.
dog walkers.
Yeah. If you want multiple people to be aware of that, you can set up multiple accounts on different devices. I'm going to say that if you are a paranoid security person, you should never use home automation.
Hello?
Oh, hey, thought I missed you. Got a couple packages for you.
Oh, great.
I love this. Why is that important? UPS guy showing up with a package in his arm. By the way, they never say it like that, right? They're like, I got a package here, I got to go. So why is that important? Not only saves you the trip, but if I can't get out of my house, I can tell that person where to put that package delivered. I can't tell you how many times people have not gotten packages delivered because they weren't able to answer their front door. And so they don't get the stuff that they want. So that's super important.
Can you put it around back, please?
Anytime, from anywhere, Ring keeps you connected to the things that matter most.
Hi, Mom.
Hey, you guys. Text me what you want for dinner.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Right. Come on, stop making a different video, right? No, I think what she was saying was think about it for 5 minutes and then get back to me about it, right? Right. And this is for all of you security people, this is really going to amp you up a minute.
Home security starts at your front door. The Ring Video
I love
Doorbell
this guy.
features HD video, two-way talk, and customizable motion detection, which alerts you when any...
So did you see that little graphic that panned out and showed you? That's super important, because if you have a one-directional camera, it's only going to get stuff coming down a very small space. So they've got this broadband camera that's going to send you a notification every time a raccoon walks across your yard, because I get those notifications. Now, here's the tricky thing. Nest can differentiate people from animals. And so it can differentiate if a person was walking through my yard versus some activity that occurred in my yard. Why is that important? Because I don't want to look at every notification I get to see what was actually happening. So this people notification thing is huge. These guys don't people notify.
anyone steps onto your property.
Hi there, what can I do for you?
Is this 217 Pine Street?
No, I think you're in the wrong place.
The guy invents some random address and he says, you're in the wrong place, blah, blah, blah. I think that's hysterical. Okay, so let's watch the other people. And how would you ever know any of this stuff that I'm talking about? You're going to have to contact nerds like me, and you're going to have to say, here's the problem I'm trying to solve, what's out there, unless you're going to do your own research to figure it out. But let's just watch these guys. Maybe.
Hello.
Hello, you guys. I see you behind the plant.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Oh my God, she's adorable. Hello, got your package?
You can just leave it. Thanks.
Did you see what she just did? She picked a pre-programmed message to play through the camera. If you're working with somebody who's nonverbal, someone who's extremely unintelligible, somebody who's super shy, you can just pick whatever message you want to play out of that thingamajigger, and it speaks the message. Yes, sir? Yes. Well, to a point. You have to customize it with their phrases, but you cannot add your own phrases. It's a good question. Very guy number
Hello?
2.
Can I help you?
So, all doorbells are not created equal. The Nest can detect people. The Nest can record 24 hours of video. It doesn't record sections of video. Oh yeah, we could do pre-recorded messages with the Nest video. So when I'm thinking about the people that I'm working with and I'm putting out the features of those things and I'm thinking, I wonder if this would be a better solution for somebody else. But here's a trick. These guys, they make our lives miserable. The Ring guys, Two days ago, this company announced a complete home security system. Z-Wave works with all their stuff, works with sensors on doors and windows and all kinds of shenanigans, and it's more for home security. These guys are working on it, but they're kind of not completely there. So you remember when I was talking about pick your poison? If you want home security, and you want some of that other crazy stuff, you're going to have to pick the thing that doesn't do the other cool things that this does. That's just part of the journey. So just looking at an ad, they don't say that in that ad. That's not going to give you enough information. You're going to have to drill down big time. Are there other doorbells? Sure. There's like 30 or something doorbells. That's what that link at the top is for. After I'm gone, you can go up there and look at all the zillions of doorbells that are out on the market. Locks. Okay. I'm not going to go to the Amazon link on this. We're just going to talk locks. So the lock that you see on here is the August door lock. It's Bluetooth, by the way. Remember what we said about Bluetooth? So most locks are Bluetooth. but you can get a Wi-Fi hub to work with them. So let's talk through locks. You know, I'll use a couple of examples of people I've worked with. Well, locks unlock, but they don't open doors. All they do is unlock something. And the other thing they do is they can tell you if a door is locked. Like if you're working with someone who forgets to lock or unlock their doors, you can use this and it will say, you know, Sally locked her door at 7 o'clock, blah, blah, blah. You can also make it so that if someone walks close to the door automatically unlocks, and then they open the door, and when they go into the house, it automatically locks. So they don't even need a key. They just need a cell phone that connects with it. So I'm going to tell you a really funny story. I was in my house, and I set up that geofence shenanigans. It unlocked my door. I went out my garage door. I walked around my backyard, and I came back into the house, and it didn't unlock. I was super frustrated. Why didn't it unlock? It was supposed to unlock. I was locked out of my house. You know why? Because I didn't have my cell phone with me, but it was close to the door. So when I left, it knew that I was near my cell phone, and it unlocked the door. But when I went onto the other side of the wall, it didn't recognize me anymore. So I basically locked myself out of my house. So you have to practice doing crazy stuff like that to figure out whether or not you're going to, you know, do somebody more harm than good using it. I took all of our automatic door locks off of our house. I don't recommend them to anybody unless they're a super nerd. Yes? Sure. I bet somebody will want you to use the mic. Uh-oh. Here's the problem I have. Do I need to turn mine off?
It's green now. Hello.
I can hear you.
Okay. One thing that I use electronic locks.
Okay.
On our house. I use actually the Schlag.
Yes.
That still has a keypad.
Yes.
And the ability to have a key.
Yes.
A physical key.
Right.
And you don't experience this in Missouri, but we get very chilly up here in the North Woods. Okay. And so this winter, I use it at our home for our cat sitter or anybody else that needs to check our house. And it was a brand new battery. And I get a phone call. Jamie can't get in to check the cats. And so it wasn't even much more than 5 below zero. And we get to like 30 below where I live. And so that is something to think about if you are setting up any kind of electronic
Because
locks.
batteries die in cold weather.
Battery died that quick within 2 days.
Right.
So fortunately, I keep a key hidden elsewhere outside.
Where? Right. Yeah.
Look
Do you
at
have a
that.
geofence so we can find it?
Yeah, and but it was trudging through, feet of snow at 17 below to get to this key.
Right.
But that's why we chose the one that has a keypad as well as a physical key that can still go in.
That's a brilliant point.
So that the cats could get fed.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that these are all battery operated. So sooner or later, if you don't replace the batteries, to your point, things die. And if you don't have a key. Now, these guys, they just put that gadget over the deadbolt, so you can use a key, external key to do it, but it's a monster gripper thing that you have to grip with your hand. So if you have somebody with fine motor, gross motor stuff, they're not going to be able to turn that. And it's also, I found, really annoying. Every time I wanted to go out of my house, I had to pull my phone out of my pocket to unlock my door. Instinctively, I'd rather just walk out my door without having to use my phone. So there's some really cool applications, and if you click that link later, you can go look at all the bazillions of locks. But the two takeaways are they're Bluetooth. You cannot control them remotely unless you buy a hub that allows you to control them through Wi-Fi, and then you can control them remotely. Yes, sir.
Are there any of those locks that work with biometrics?
Interesting. So explain to everybody in the room what you mean by that.
Like retinal scan or fingerprint.
Facial
something
scan.
Like that. Yeah.
So what they're going to do is they're going to make the interface do those things, like your phone or whatever. They're not going to make the actual device do that. Because remember, you're controlling these things with something, a phone, a thing, a whatever. So probably those things will have it on it, but not the actual device itself. Does that make sense? Any questions about locks? How many of you are going to install a lock on your house tomorrow? Dang it. All right. Yes? So you have a what?
So in the event of an emergency with the locks,
Right.
how do first responders get in?
It's a darn good question. I mean, conventionally, the same way anybody else would get in.
They shoot the lock.
They
shoot the lock.
They kick the door in, they shoot the lock, or they have a key. You know, to the point we were making earlier. Or you know they're on their way to the house, and you're remote, and you unlock the door remotely so that they can get into the house. Now, there are some locks that you can send a temporary key to someone else's device. Like I could send, let's say you come to my house, you're going to deliver a cake. And I want you to come in my house and put it in my kitchen so it doesn't melt in my front yard. I can send you a temporary key to your phone. Then you use your phone Bluetooth to tell my thingy to unlock, and you walk in and, but that's a lot of steps.
Sorry, I hang out with firefighters and paramedic people.
Tell them to use their foot.
So if you don't have electricity because there's a fire?
Doesn't need it.
Okay.
Because it's battery operated. Doesn't need Wi-Fi because it's battery operated.
And if all the
Bluetooth.
electronics are defunct because of the fire?
As long as the fire doesn't defunct that lock, you're okay.
What if you left your phone?
You get locked out of your house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the example I was giving you earlier where I didn't have my phone in my pocket and it didn't know I was walking up to it. So that's why having an alternative key to get in your house. That's why locks are tricky. If you're going to do locks, you need a lot of backup plans to make it work.
You know that Missouri stare you talked about? Well,
Yes.
in Wisconsin, we have like the worst case scenario handbook that we like to compile.
The worst case scenario, scenario. Yeah, because that's fine. That works for me. Garage doors. I know we're going to be running out of time, so I'm going to speed things up a little bit. Everybody has problems with garage doors. And if you have people with modified vehicles, garage door opening is a huge problem for them. Typically because they have to get that crazy garage door opener thing and use it to open. Well, all these things we've been talking about, geofencing and on my cell phone, in my pocket, in my car, I drive up to my garage door and my garage door automatically opens because I have my cell phone on me. I don't have to touch it. It's just going to use geolocation to do it. Now the problem is you have to go out and you have to buy a Wi-Fi enabled garage door and or opener, and they're a pain. They're just a pain. But this little widgety dude thing right here, you wire on to a garage door and it works brilliantly. And you can do multiple unlimited numbers of garage doors. So it's Wi-Fi enabled. It has a sensor in it to see whether your garage door is open or not. I am famous for not closing the garage door when I go on a trip where I fly. I don't know what happens to my brain. I just forget to close the garage door. So I solved that problem not with one of these. I put one of those $99 Blink cameras on the wall in my garage. And when I get to the airport, I turn the camera on and I go, whew, I close the garage door. Otherwise, I'd have to send my neighbor over and have them close my garage door. Or I could use one of these things. But if you have somebody who has modified vehicles, cannot open their garage door, you can use their phone so as they get close to the garage door, it will automatically open by itself. I did something really fun. Somebody came to me with a problem. They said, you know, it's really amazing, but it doesn't open doors. And I thought, huh, well, what are you using to open the door? And they say, well, we use this easy access automatic door opener. Well, easy access automatic door openers use a radio signal. So that when you get up to the door, you have to hit a button or you have to hit something on your body. And they wanted it to work with Alexa so that somebody could come to a door and say, Alexa, and I won't give you the secret, open the door, and it would automatically open the door. So I created this YouTube video.
Hi, this is John Effinger with Missouri Assistive Technology. We had somebody introduce an interesting challenge to us. They wanted to use the Echo, the Amazon Echo, to use and work with an auto door opener from Easy Access to see if you could use voice to open and close a door. Normally these are controlled with a switch that sends a radio signal like a garage door opener to the door opener, and then it opens the door. But we wanted to investigate what we could use via Wi-Fi that could do the same thing. And we found the Next garage door opener that connects to Wi-Fi. And this allowed us to connect Next to the Amazon Echo and then using voice open and close a door, which is pretty slick. We called the company. They recommended that we use black and
So things like if you had it on the garage, the bedroom, it would do all of it. Does that make sense? Just doing a little bit of creative, crazy stuff. Okay. So we have like 15 minutes left, right? What time is this? Somebody have a schedule? All right. So we're going to jam now. Because I don't want to run out of time and I want to talk about super important stuff. So appliances. Appliances is really interesting. You can get Wi-Fi enabled appliances. Coffee machines, crock pots. You know, I've always thought, should I get a crock pot that I can control via Wi-Fi? Anyway, the problem with these devices is they're custom made. They have the Wi-Fi enabled thing built into the appliance. You can't use those custom plugs and all that other shenanigans we talked about because of that on override thing. And they've stopped making a lot of these because I have a feeling people were burning up their houses. So you can get appliances that are Wi-Fi controlled unless the coffee pot grinds the coffee, adds the water, puts the filter in, and does all of that. It's not very automated in my brain. Because I can set the timer to come on at 3 o'clock. So I'm not a big fan of appliance Wi-Fi enabled stuff. We talked about it earlier, the Harmony Hub. Made a video of our office.
Alexa, turn on the TV.
Okay. So Alexa's turning the TV on. I'm also I've told Alexa, Harmony Hub, to turn on to a specific channel. Not only does it turn the TV on, it goes to a specific channel. And this is the price.
Alexa, increase volume on the TV.
Backpack, and chairs.
So I can use my voice for volume, control channels, control picture, control what devices talk to it. But I use the Harmony. Harmony is only $100. It works super great. Awesome. So I think Harmony Hub is the coolest thing since sliced bread for all the things that it can do. Because most people want to be able to control their entertainment stuff. It's really hard to do that. But not with a Harmony Hub. Later, that one of the number one things that people want on their wish list is an automatic vacuum. I installed one of these in my house. I thought it was just a joke. I love it. Oh my gosh, I love it. It is the coolest thing. So yes, sir. Ha! They'll squish the accident. Yes. Yeah. Basically, you get a paint pattern across your floor. Totally get it. Well, there's one other downside to vacuum cleaners. You have to be able to empty out the tray. So I have people with physical disabilities who love these robots because they'll vacuum their house, but they can't empty the tray. So the tray is probably good for 2 weeks before it gets plugged up, and then somebody physically has to come in and dump it because it will stop working. But here's the really cool thing. It sends you a notification saying that the bin is full. So now you know, I need to go over to Bob's house and dump out his bin. I think the iRobots are amazing. We bought one for our office because we have lousy janitorial services. They make them now that will map your entire floor. So before it was just random cleaning. Now it will map out an entire floor and remember where it cleaned. I think they're incredible. A lot of people don't consider them. Okay, watches. So we were talking a little bit about controlling you. I use a smartwatch. And I want us to think a little bit out of the box as to why we would use these with somebody with any kind of disability. Well, one, you can set up schedules on a smartwatch. Everybody can do that. You can have timers that go off. Everybody can do that. You can have notifications that go off. Everybody can do that. But a notification isn't any good if it doesn't tell you what the notification's for. So I, because I do so many presentations, didn't want to flick people who don't have the ability to flick a wrist to see what time it is. They might have a motion that's like this, and that's not enough motion to activate the gyro inside the watch so that they can see it. So I got this watch because it always tells me what time it is, and it sends me notifications. But it doesn't do all that other crazy stuff like email and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't do all of that. But what it does do, yes? Me? Yes. Notification nightmare. Yes, ma'am. That's a really good question. So what I'm going to do right now, maybe. So I'm going to stream. You're going to have to use your great supervision about all the notifications that I receive in a given day. Those are all the notifications I receive in a given day. That's okay for me personally, but I could also tell it to not do that. So I can define which ones to get and which ones not to get. So you can customize notifications. But to your point, you can notify somebody to death because there's so many of them. Right. But I could also say, I only want notification from my camera when it goes off. Don't send me all that other stuff. And you can do that. I don't mind looking at all that other stuff. Does that make sense? Okay. So the other thing about watches that I think are super important when we're working with people is all of the things watches can do now. You can use a scale, and you can monitor people's weight. Remember the kid I told you about who would open the refrigerator way too much? One of the requirements was every day he had to step on the scale. Well, that scale's Wi-Fi connected. It immediately records his weight. It shows up on my phone how much he weighed in that moment. I geofenced his refrigerator to know that he's gone in the refrigerator 20 times, and that's probably why he just gained 2 pounds. So I have the ability to remotely look at what's going on. A lot of them are also doing health-related stuff, like I do my blood pressure with a blood pressure cuff. And as many people as I share that notification with can receive that to tell you what I'm doing. I'm waiting. I'm not diabetic myself. I work with a lot of people who are, to get those instant home automated diabetic sugar readers that work with a phone. This is not there yet. But you know, when these guys get their acts together, it's going to be sweet. So if I was home automated, I might consider an Apple Watch because I can also tell things what to do by touching my watch. You can't do that with a Nokia phone. Any questions about watches? Tile. Have you guys heard about the tile? It's a little thing. You can clip on anything, and it tells you where something is. There's one downside to a tile. Anybody know what the downside is? Say again? Yeah, it has a battery in it, and the batteries die. And to replace the battery, sometimes you have to send it back to the company. So who wants to send in their device every year to have their... It's a great idea. Just make it so that I can change the bloody thing myself without somebody else doing it. I'm going to skip the sensors. The other one was a siren. What are sensors and who uses them? So sensors you cannot control. They only tell you when something's happening. Things like moisture, things like temperature, heart rate, sleep. They're just going to tell you when things happen. So sensor is a big part of home automation, and it's becoming more and more available. But these that I'm showing you right now were customized by a company, and you have to buy them directly from the company, which is a bummer. But they're becoming more and more part of the home automation thing. Alexa, we've already talked about Alexa a million times. You know, the downside with Alexa is you have to activate a skill. You have to use a set phrase. You've got to teach people the phrase. So if you're working with somebody with executive functioning or TBI, they have to memorize the darn phrase. Sometimes you can be creative about how you say it. You can interchange words, but a lot of times you have to say the right thing each time. So that's the drawback to it. But I'm so glad you asked that question.
Alexa, turn on living room light.
Okay. So can you use synthesized speech to control voice assistants? The answer is yes. So if you had somebody who couldn't, well, here's how many of you know what a Big Mac is a device that you can record a message, right? It's a single button, single message device. If I wanted somebody to control something in their house and they had to use voice to it, I could record whatever message on that Big Mac. They could hit that, and the device would respond based on the message. Like turn on the TV. So the idea behind this video is you don't have to use regular human voice to make things work. You can use synthesized speech, which is it's in the mail. So I'm going to jump to a different presentation because I really think it's important that you guys sort of see the trial balloon. We only have 5 minutes, and I'm going to make it simple. So we did a presentation 2.5 years ago with my friend Barry. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to whip through it without actually playing the videos because we'd be here all day. But I went to Barry's house, and we had to assess, well, how are we going to make this work? First thing I had to figure out is, how does he use his phone? Well, he uses his phone with a clasp hand and a knuckle. And what I discovered was he wasn't very accurate with his knuckle. So he was turning stuff on and off because he couldn't get the accuracy. So we knew we had to come up with a better system and do something. We had to figure something else out. So he had this really beautiful house. He wanted to automate it. We were able to do it. We used this Skybell doorbell, and they still sell it. And I'm going to tell you right now, don't ever buy it. It's horrible. Use the other Ring bell or the Hello doorbell. The Skybell did not work for us. Some of these videos show Barry telling Alexa what to do, and Alexa says she's doing it, and she doesn't do it, or he doesn't do it. And so the humor that we have throughout all these videos is sometimes you have to say it twice or 3 times. It's like talking to a teenager. You have to say it multiple times, and all of a sudden it magically happens. But the big thing that Barry bugged me about over and over and over, his house was too bright. And days he didn't always remember to tell him to close his blinds. So he wanted to make automated blinds. And if ever my brain exploded, it was doing this project. Not hard, because I discovered that if you go to blinds.com sells motorized blinds with a solar panel on it, so you don't have to use power. That will control the blind. But then they sell a controller that will allow you to manually open and close the blind. But they use Zigbee Z-Wave connect to Alexa that you can control the blind. So you have to have nerd skills number 10 to do that project, but it's doable, and it's doable with off-the-shelf stuff. And to do all that blind shenanigans for that one window that we did, I think it cost us $100. It wasn't cheap. So rain, that's sweet. Could you control it? What could you control it with? A hand controller or with a smartphone? Oh, so probably a hand controller. Well, the other thing I wanted to show you is this crazy diagram. So, when we were trying to just totally deck out his house, we had to figure out how things would be controlled in Biometrics. And we realized that we could only control certain things with certain things, and we had to diagram it. We had to map it out, and it got complicated. So suffice it to say, he brought other things to my attention. He called his wireless printer home automation, which blew me out of the water because I've never considered it. And he said, if this is a home automation project, I want you to home automate my Wi-Fi printer because it's connected to Wi-Fi, so I could use it more effectively. But we figured out how he could send stuff to his Wi-Fi. So the answer is we were able to. He also identified 3 things that were big issues for him: cleaning, the garage door. So what Barry had is he would come up in his modified vehicle, and he had a switch on his dashboard that he had to figure out how to hit. And I watched him go through those gyrations about 20 times before I said, dude, we have got to come up with a motion sensor that automatically open your garage door, and that's where that next garage is. He also wanted security stuff. Let me get back. So pill reminders, they do make them. They come and go quickly. So right now, the one pill reminder that everyone's talking about is Hero. And the Hero is you dump everything into it in these little sections, and you program it, and it will auto-dump. It's a GoFundMe campaign, which sucks, but it will dump the medication based on when you need it. You know, I created reminders on people's phones to remind them to do that stuff, but it doesn't measure out what they're supposed to get. That little sucker costs $500, so you really, really need to automate your, you know, for $500, you really have to want to do it. IFTTT, for those of you who don't know what that is, that's if, then that. And that's creating recipes. This was my favorite recipe that they create. So a recipe is when somebody comes up to my door and my Nest camera notices that there's somebody there, I want it to tell my Philips Hue bulbs to flash green. Whenever I see a green flash, that means someone's at my front door. Now I create a recipe for the back door. When somebody comes up to my back door, I want my Philips Hue bulbs to flash. Front door or my back door. Those are called recipes. And you use IFTTT to do that, but this one's my favorite. Get yourself out of an awkward situation. It knows by an activation that you do, like just touching your phone, to give you a random phone call so that you can leave a meeting or leave a situation that you don't want to be in. I thought that was brilliant. So if you're in a meeting and you need an excuse to get out, you just touch a button and it will call your phone and you'll say, sorry, I got to go talk to so-and-so. I thought that was a brilliant strategy. Virtual presence. Does anybody here use virtual presence at all? Ever used it? So virtual presence is kind of up and coming. If you're going to monitor somebody, you can actually monitor people with a robot. And it works pretty slick. They have to have good Wi-Fi. You have to have good Wi-Fi. You basically log in to the robot, and you can cruise around their house and see what the heck's going on. So it's an easy way to do it. So let me tell you about these guys. Teltext is a company out of Kearney, Missouri. They're actually doing a presentation today for TechEct projects. They are creating what's called a smart home solution. So for $10,000, they will come into your home and install everything that we talked about today. So they'll install all the lights, all the locks, all the stuff. And then they're going to remote monitor. They're not going to monitor with a person. They're going to create a remote monitoring system that will send out notifications if something needs to happen. In addition, the big problem with home automation is the updating and repairing. They can do that all remotely. So they're going to be able to update devices remotely. They're going to be able to monitor stuff. And they're going to charge $10,000 for 3 years. I have no idea how they're going to fund that, because I'm not aware of any funding source that will pay $10,000 for that type of thing. But they're going to go ahead and do it. So if you want to use home automation and you want to use a professional service and it's not monitoring because it's not a person, but they just want to make sure all your stuff works, they're going to have that so that you can do that. Okay. I know our time's up. So that means we can't do the last activity that we were going to do, which is to finish up your house. So here's the commitment I'm going to make to you guys. You know, this is just a flash in the pan conversation. I am available. You can call me anytime or email me anytime, and I can walk you through with your map how you might assemble the stuff that we've talked about today. Because there's no way you're going to learn all that stuff. It's just super overwhelming. But with the beautiful thing of virtual presence, Skype, whatever, I can help you guys solve a lot of that home automation stuff. Any questions? All right. Thank you very much for your time.